Hello everyone, today we have new video review, and as you can see, this time we are going to check something completely new. It's a release from Eduard, which comes as a limited edition 1/48 scale. Moreover, it's a dual combo which is named as a Tora. Here you could see the comparison with my sister's hand, and we have a commercial sample here, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you'll see in this nice video review with this nice box. So first of all, on the side we can see some of the marking options. As far as I remember, there should be something around 12 of them, so here you can take a closer look at the markings which are included, but of course we will also check the marking guides in the assembly manual. By the way, the kit number is 11155, and here you can see 4 more marking options. And they are, I would say, somewhat typical for Zero, but that's something what you expect from this aircraft type. And of course, this is a dual combo. We have all bonuses included inside, so that's why it is interesting release, considering that this is a completely new plastic from Eduard. It's not plastic from their partners, so it will be cool to see what is actually implemented in this nice kit and why it should be an interesting build in 1/48 scale. So here we start with the first plastic bag. As you can see, we have pair sprues, so that's why we have them packed together. And this package is somewhat, I would say, tight, so that's why we have this. Here you can see that this large parts just broke off, but it's nothing serious. They're not damaged, but maybe if you have a chance to check the box, it's better to open it and take a look inside so that you know what is happening there inside with parts. So as you can see, we have typical external features. Here you can take a closer look. We have recessed panel lines and rivets. Note that flaps are molded in, so I guess you will have to buy the separate PE set for this. And here inside we have also some small features. Note that wingtips, they have these recessed panel lines. So maybe it hints that we will see the separate resin set for folded wingtips, if I'm not wrong. Maybe for a version with the clipped wings. So correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you know the Zero better than I am. So just feel free to write in the comment section. I will be happy to learn a bit more about this aircraft. Next, we continue with this large frame. So here you can see that we have the top wing halves. Also, we have separate ailerons, and I can see that we have also some parts for landing gear. And of course, we have elevators from what I can understand, but we will check it in assembly manual later. Molding quality seems to be fine. I don't have anything to complain about. Of course, external features are absolutely identical to what we saw on the previous sprue, so that's why you shouldn't be worried about any possible, let's say, issues with looks of these parts. Maybe it would be a wise idea to play with panel lines, maybe with pre-shading, in order to bring out all these features. As you can see, external surfaces are quite detailed, and let's not forget that we deal with a 1/48 scale set, so Zero in 1/48 is not that huge. I mean, in comparison with other aircraft types, so that's why it looks quite impressive. And here again we have this recessed lines for separate wingtips, so I really wonder what they will be used for. I guess some pressing set for sure, but I wonder which one. So, and here you can take a closer look from the opposite side at all wing mechanization and tail wing parts. Next, we continue with fuselage parts. So this is a dual combo which allows you to build 2 identical versions. That's why we have absolutely the same set of parts here, and I mean nothing is different, so that's why it's better just to take a look at one of these frames and see how these fuselage parts will be assembled. But straight away it is safe to say that we have a completely different design from what we used to see in Zero kits, because here you can see that we have template for the cowling assembly. It might be handy for a better result. And both fuselage halves, of course, they're molded together with the tail fin. It's quite nice thing, and I don't think it will make the whole assembly process a bit more complicated. Of course, the cowling should be assembled out of separate panels, but as I said, we have the assembly jig, this large part here. It will be used as a jig for the cowling. Here we continue with the tail wing halves. External features on the fuselage look quite impressive, I would say. In 1/48 scale, it should be beautiful to build and paint, just be sure not to overdo the paint layers, because I think it will be easy to lose all these rivets. They are quite delicate. But that's actually a good thing, because it was like that on the real aircraft as far as I remember. So that's why it is important to have it as tender, let's say, as small as possible. Here you can see that front cooling ring is molded as a single piece part. That's also a welcome feature, because it will help you avoid all possible gaps in this visible area. Here you can take a closer look inside fuselage. We have some minor cockpit features. Obviously, they will be improved with help of separate parts, and there are also some minor guiding elements which will help you with overall alignment of these parts together. I don't think it will be a difficult task, because I can see that design is somewhat easy to combine. Next, we then continue with the clear sprues. They're packed into 2 separate Ziploc bags. This is also typical packaging for Eduard, so nothing special. And molding quality looks fine, so here we can take a closer look at one of them. Of course, you can build the open cockpit as well, so it will be up to you whether you would like to, or you would like to keep the cockpit closed. And this is a limited edition, so that's why we have PE and masks included. So masks will be handy in order to cover all these canopy parts, because otherwise it will be a bit tedious work to cut all these small squares, get them in the exact shape, and blah blah blah. So that's why it will speed up the painting process, it will speed up the assembly process, and I'm glad that such bonuses included. But frankly speaking, it's a bit unusual to see all these parts from Eduard. I mean, Japanese aircraft from Czech model company is something what we did not expect, to be honest. So here you can take a closer look at this sliding canopy parts. And from what I can understand, for closed and open version, you will have to use the different parts. So pay attention and decide in advance which version you would like to build, because it will define the parts choice, and it will also define the assembly sequence. I guess there will be slightly different steps involved, so pay attention to this. But that's not all. We also have another set of sprues. It comes in this second plastic bag. As you can see here, we have mix of various parts. We have some engine parts, at least I can see them through the plastic bag. And also we have some parts for landing gear and fuel tank, as far as you can see, and some other armament parts, but we will check it closer in a second. So here are 2 frames, which again, absolutely identical. And of course, the most noticeable part is one-piece propeller, and it's really cool because it will make it easier to install it in the right position. You don't have to bother with any alignment issues. And now we are going to remove one of the plastic frames and check this one a bit closer, because it will be interesting to see actually what is how these parts are designed. Obviously, for example, landing gear wheels, they can be replaced with a resin upgrade from Eduard, but you have to pay a bit more, because this is a separate product which you should buy as a separate add-on for your build. So it's up to you whether you would like to spend more, or you are fine with a standard design, which looks, I would say, decent. And for out-of-the-box build, it should be okay. By the way, note the attachment points on the propeller. They're placed right in the middle, so it will be quite easy to cut them off without damaging the parts. There are some small elements, which is also quite important, because it will require due care from you. Some parts are quite thin, so be sure to use the right tools. Try not to break or lose, because obviously there are no spare parts. And note that landing gear legs, they look quite fine, but I have no doubt that we will see also the bronze parts. So if you prefer such upgrade, you have to wait a bit when it will be out on the market. And here you can see also some of the external equipment, if you can say so, and also landing gear parts. And for landing gear wheels, I can guess that maybe we'll have the masks, but considering the design of these parts, it is possible to paint just tires separately from rims, and you will get an accurate paint finish, but we'll see. I mean, in the assembly manual, it will be understandable once we start checking it. And also here you could see that fuel tank has some, I would say, guiding elements which will help you with alignment of 2 hulls together. So quite a smart design, but I mean, for Eduard, it's nothing special because we are used to see such stuff from Eduard, and this kit is another excellent example of their engineering. Next, we continue with one more gray plastic sprue. So this one is the last one, I would say, but it is also, in my opinion, it's the most interesting because I was actually wondering how the engine will be copied on this aircraft because it's quite visible. So here you can't avoid the engine build with a simple insert. You have to replicate the engine somehow. And it was interesting to see how Eduard will solve this issue. Obviously, we will see also the brassing upgrade, which will cost a bit more than the kit itself maybe, but it will be a worthy upgrade. And here we deal with the original plastic set engine. And in my opinion, it looks quite decent. So with some careful assembly and painting, it should be a quite nice power plant to have in 1/48 scale. And of course, this landing gear parts, from what I can see here, they look quite fine. So I don't think it will be also a difficult task to get them all together. Just do not forget about this special color which was used on Japanese aircraft for landing gear wheel wells. And again, attachment points amount is reduced to a possible minimum, so it's not like we have a lot of attachment points on one part. Here you can see also cockpit floor from the opposite side. We'll flip over the sprue a bit later, and by the way, the engine parts look quite nice, but again, that's the rear side. And note that each cylinder head has one attachment point, so be careful while separating all this stuff so that cylinder heads will not be damaged. Here we continue with more parts, again some thin parts for the engine. I can maybe also predict that there will be some PE parts for the engine, but we will see. Again, amount of the small parts and bits is quite, I would say, impressive, so this is definitely not a beginner's set in my opinion. And what I appreciate, for example, cockpit parts which come with throughout holes, so you don't have to drill anything, you don't have to cut anything. It is ready to be used straight out of the box. And that's really cool because it shows what can be achieved with the modern technologies, in my opinion. Here we also have these arrestor hooks, also some of the cockpit walls, and these cockpit walls look more or less fine. Again, everything will depend on your painting skills, of course. And I can bet that there will be some PE engaged as well. So be ready to work with tweezers. Here you can see parts from the opposite side. Side console looks quite fine. Again, maybe it will be also peppered with PE parts. Here we continue with side walls for the cockpit. Again, some pre-molded stuff. And by the way, maybe cockpit will also get the resin treatment from Eduard, which is really cool. And here you can see the cockpit floor. It looks good. Here we continue with engine parts, wheel wells parts, and I like the surface detail on here. Maybe the machine gun barrels, I would rather prefer to have the metal upgrade. Who knows, maybe Eduard will produce it, maybe not. But I'm sure that maybe we'll see it from some aftermarket producers as well. Maybe you can even adapt any of the existing sets in order to use it on this frame. But I like what I see here, so I don't think we'll have any issues. And it should be easy to work with these parts. And one more plastic sprue. Actually, that's not the plastic sprue, sorry. So here we have add-ons for this model. As you remember, we are dealing with the limited edition. So we have PE parts, we have these masks. Both are packed in separate plastic bag. PE is preserved with a cardboard so that it won't be bent during shipping, and that's a really cool feature because it's quite important. Here you can see masks, so they're pre-cut, and as I said, we have masks for landing gear wheels. This is really cool. Of course, we have for the canopy as well, and again, of course, we have it for both aircraft because this is a dual combo, so that's why you shouldn't be worried that something is not included here. And it will allow you to focus on the painting process, not on the cutting stickers process. Next, we continue with the PE thread. So here you can see it a bit upside down because sister confused the side, but still it is quite understandable what we have here. We have a lot of cockpit parts. We also have some external elements. I can see that even landing gear legs, they will get their own portion of PE parts, and that's really cool because it will add some fine features to the overall details. And in my opinion, it's important in 1/48 scale because it will be noticeable once you use it on your model. So do not underestimate such upgrade, especially considering the fact that it's given as a standard thing out of the box. You don't have to spend extra money, and I mean, all these parts look quite cool in my opinion, so it will be easy to work with them. By the way, small tip, do not forget to sand the P parts from the rear side so that they will be easier to glue on the place. Some modelers do this in order to simplify the installation process of some small bits, maybe of some cockpit parts, and this is a really handy technique which will help you to achieve a better result in no time. Next, we continue with this plastic bag with decals. Obviously, they're printed in Eduard, so here we start with a big decal sheet which is printed in Eduard, and as you remember, we have 12 marking options included, and here all main symbols. Of course, some of them can be replicated with masks, and I wonder if Eduard will start producing masks for such camouflage, because obviously Shinamaru can be replicated with a mask and red paint. We can also replicate all these blue and red stripes, so it's just a matter of careful airbrushing and you will be good to go. And I can see that we even have dials here, so in case you are not that huge fan of P parts, you can use the dial decals and install them, apply on the dashboard, and you will be good to go. But again, it's your decision. I would rather prefer to use P parts because they give a bit more realistic appearance. And printing quality looks great even on the smallest symbols, so here you don't have anything to worry about. It's just a matter of careful application on the model. Here we have also two small sheets with stencils, because it's a 1/48 scale, so it should be weird not to see any technical writings on the aircraft. Do not be lazy, apply them all, because they will improve the final appearance of your Zero, and this will have a considerable effect, I would say, on the external appearance of your kit, of your build maybe. And here you can take a closer look. So of course this decals sheet is also printed in Eduard, so printing quality is really cool. And as you remember, there are several ways to apply the decals from Eduard, so I recommend to check their original info where they mention how to do it, because the second way gives you even more realistic appearance with any size of decal. But it's a bit more tricky, so that's why it's better to read about it. Next, we continue with assembly manual. So this one is typical for Eduard, and we have it printed in a form of cover printed brochure. We have quite nice box art or cover. As you can see, the overall styling is typical for Eduard. So let's open the first page. Here we have the short history note about this quite famous conflict, I would say. So as you remember, Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, and as you can see, it is also accompanied not only with the text but also with some photos of the real aircraft and real fighter pilots. So it's up to you whether you would like to base your build on this history article, but that's really cool that Eduard actually decided to give us a small note about this conflict to remind what happened and how Zero participated in it. So here you can see a lot of interesting photos which show Zero in a different conditions, I would say. And next we proceed with the parts map. So parts map with the blue color, it shows the parts which are not used. So be careful and pay attention to what you have to install here and there. I guess these blue parts will be preserved for the next releases of the different versions. We start straight away with P parts in the cockpit walls. So as you can see, the red color means that you have to sand or cut off the original plastic in order to install the P part. So pay attention to that, because it will also have the influence on the appearance of your kit. Obviously, some modelers will not use P parts, as I said before, but I would rather insist on using it because it will give a better features in the cockpit area, and of course it will make it a bit more realistic. So as you can see, even the side panels, the instrument panel, and some various minor controls, they are upgraded with P parts. Next we continue with machine gun. By the way, I wonder if Machine Gun Bay will be also replicated as a brushing set, because it would be a cool idea to open this hatch. And next we proceed with wheel wells. I can see that it is also quite a simple process, as I said before. It's just a matter of installing the separate panels here and there. Next, we continue with more parts in the under fuselage area. We start assembling the tail wings together with the separate elevators, and here we install small PE parts for the wing. We work on the engine. By the way, you can see that engine basically does not employ any of the PE, which is rather surprising. But here you can see how the template for the cowling is used. So do not forget that this part should not be glued. You just use it in order to align the cowling parts together. Next, we continue with the landing gear. So again, small reminder that we have masks for the landing gear, so it's quite a good thing to have out of the box. Next, we proceed with the fuel tank. It will be installed under the fuselage, as you remember. Again, PE parts for the side step. And also we have here propeller assembly, so it should be also quite easy. We install the target side. Target side is assembled together with PE parts, and even the canopy will get its own portion of the PE, so pay attention where to install these parts. Next, we have the option for the open canopy. Here you can see masking guide for the canopy and landing gear wheels. A lot of masks to apply, so do not hurry and pay attention to where you apply them. And here we start with the marking guide. So that's the aircraft from the first attack wave. As you can see, it's a typical camouflage, and I would say it should look decent once assembled. Next, we continue with another aircraft from the same attack wave. And as you can see, it's pretty much similar to what we saw in the first marking. Of course, I would recommend to get the Gunzi colors in order to get the right shade of the aircraft. Another aircraft, by the way, from the first attack wave. And I really like that the marking guide from Eduard is quite detailed, so it should be easy to know what to do and how to paint this aircraft. Another aircraft from first attack wave, but this time we have this blue stripes on the tail section. Next, we have, I wonder how many attack waves are covered here, because here, for example, we have another first attack wave. And just to remind you, we have 12 markings in total. So it will be interesting what we have included here. Another aircraft from first attack wave. And it looks quite clean because of these white stripes, in my opinion. Again, I will remind you that you can replicate this stuff with masks. So this is a patrol during first attack wave. This aircraft was participating in a patrol. Next, we continue with the second attack wave. So this aircraft, as you can see, is slightly different in its signs on the tail area. And if you know more, feel free to write in the comment section. I will be happy to learn more. Next, we continue with the second attack wave. Also quite a sleek looking aircraft in my opinion. And second attack wave again. I always wondered how to replicate this color shade on the propeller blades. So if you know, just write in the comment section. As far as I remember, some of the manufacturers have it as an exact color shade as a separate product, but still, if you know the mix, then feel free to write here. It is a red-brown suggested, and it looks somewhat similar, but I'm not sure if it is the exact shade which was used on this Japanese aircraft. And on the last page, we have the stenciling guide for this aircraft, so it should be also quite an important procedure. As I always say, do not be lazy, apply all these symbols because it will have a great influence over the appearance of your model, and of course you'll make the model a bit more realistic. So this set should be already available. You can get it on official Eduard website. Of course, I will be happy to hear your opinion about such release. Do not forget to write it in the comment section below. Press the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye.